Yeah, especially...
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next iteration of the Drexel Free Thought Society Weekly Podcast. Due to a clerical error, we were booted out of our room, and now we're sitting in a lovely lounge-ish area, but it's much more public.
With ripped chairs.
It has ripped chairs. It's confusing.
They're terribly
Yeah,
ripped.
it looks like somebody took a knife to them, honestly.
Or tried to eat it. I don't know.
Anyway,
somebody brought their cat.
Today's topic is going to continue as arguments for God. So let's just keep going.
Super boo.
That's
Super
not.
Boo is not an argument for God.
But he is a cow.
You both have to talk louder.
Alright, sir. I'll sit right there.
We all can just. Everyone, let's all just cuddle.
Nah. Ah! You're sitting on my knee.
No. Bones suck.
You're terrible at cuddling.
I'm not a cuddler.
Okay, so we were dipping a bit into what were we going? What was the last bit?
Your mom.
Said receding pocket of ignorance. We got past that.
Something about homeschooling.
Homeschooling.
Yeah.
We kind of went into homeschooling. And
We always
Honestly, that is like a big argument for God. Is like a lot of things boil down to just it's true because my parents said it was.
that other appeal to authority type thing.
It's not even really an appeal to authority. It's just kind of like he's real because of course he's real. It's like, why do you think he's real? Because I've always known he's real. And then it just continues on until it eventually boils down to I was told he was real when I was a kid.
My parents know more than me, so therefore.
And you see, that's the interesting thing, is there's this whole evolution thing that I've heard about. You guys might have heard it. Evolution.
Evolution.
By means of natural selection.
Yep.
Yeah, that
What about
thing.
it?
Anyway, so there's one thing that is actually very evolutionarily advantageous is mindlessly obeying figures of authority when you're a child.
Really?
It helps you survive.
If you had to scientifically prove to yourself that the crocodiles won't eat you, you die.
Unless you watch somebody else get killed by it.
Even then, that's still technically learning. But you're learning by other people seeing stuff.
Yeah, like when your parents say, don't put your hand on that stove.
And that kid, and one.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was not that goofy kid. My mom said, "Don't touch the stove." I was just like, "Okay."
I was that goofy kid that tried to touch the stove.
Oh God.
I did too.
Is your hand black?
No.
You're racist. You're not black.
Wait, you're
Good one.
racist because you're not black?
That makes no sense.
Apparently.
Actually, to be fair, that's a common argument.
Yeah, but we're not going to get into that.
If you weren't so white, then you won't be racist.
I'm sorry, I'm super
I'll tell you guys a story after this.
Definitely.
This thing. It's
Pale as a
scary.
ghost.
What?
Pale as a ghost.
Well, I have some color, but for most brown people, I'm pretty light.
I have no opinion.
Yeah, me neither. I'm not touching that.
Ew.
But
No, not like
but
that.
Speaking of race and language and everything, you know, a lot of people, they, you know, all these different happenings before our society and everything, they always use that God of the Gaps thing comes back. Like, for example, what was it called? The Tower of Babel? Babel? Yeah. Where they were trying to supposedly build a tower to reach the heavens and stuff, and God was just like,
Nope.
those pesky humans, let's make them all talk different. And that's where all our languages came from. As opposed to, and again, it's convenient for people because it's like, look, the book says it right here that, hey, God didn't want these people, these sinful people, to reach up to heaven, which, why would God be scared of his own creation reaching heaven anyways? In any case,
In an incredible twist of irony, they might find out he doesn't exist. So he killed them.
we made them speak a different language. And then,
I'm sorry, he destroyed their language.
yeah, destroy the language and make them say how, and then, you know, all of a sudden it's like, well, that's it. As opposed to being the person who goes around and actually studies the different dialects and accents and everything, and you know the evolution of language itself within people. You know, that's a bit harder for us common folks to do because we have to work and go to school and all this other stuff. So it'd be
And
harder
back in
for
the
us.
day, you had to hunt and create shelter.
Yes, exactly. So it's like it's easier to say the book says this. This is what I go by.
Well, it's an umbrella explanation, so that's why it's so appealing.
And even if you were to compare the book, you know, the anthropological book versus the Bible is just easy to read because it just says, yeah, God told him to stop talking.
Have you ever read that book?
Yeah, it's actually really hard to read.
The
Bible?
Yeah, it's like the most boring, dry.
Yes.
It's not even like in
That's why
modern
it's
English
cherry-picked.
sometimes.
I personally think that
It's not in modern English at all. It's just like a melange of random nonsense.
I think part of the reason why it's cherry picked is because they realize that it's boring
And hard to read.
and hard to read. But that's why then they do those translations and they don't use the whole ye and thouist and demth you. They don't use that stuff anymore.
That's what I know?
Damneth
Damneth.
you.
Oh.
Yeah. This old joke my friend made. Damneth you instead of saying damn you. But so I think what they do is they translate into our English. Not put quotes around that to make it a bit more interesting. But then they don't want to go over the whole some parts of the book explain. Hey, this guy begot this person. This person begot. Most people don't want to read that. They want to read the inspirational parts that say, hey, if you're nice to your neighbor, then things like this. Or if you do what God says, and God will make sure that you have everlasting love within your soul, and all this other fluffy stuff. But they also will skip the very heinous, evil, except for the flood part. They'll say, yeah, those people deserve it, because God made a mistake, even though God doesn't make mistakes.
What do you mean God made a mistake? He killed people that didn't believe in him.
God created those people, and He knew they wouldn't believe in Him. So God said,
That is
oops,
true.
that kind of sucks. Flood. And everybody came back, and it was like, I won't do it no more.
It's like, the whole argument that's like the reason Jesus had to exist? Jesus had to exist so God could create him. God could create himself to sacrifice to himself so he could fix a mistake that he made.
What mistake was that?
Making people in such a way that they would eat the forbidden fruit.
Okay.
It is really effectively letting kids loose in a candy store and saying, if you eat any of the fruit, I will curse you and all of your ancestors the rest of time.
Pregnancy will be painful, and lions will eat your soul.
I know how they're just like, okay, so can any, this is just an aside at this point.
Okay.
Can any, Christian lady folk or anyone really just explain to me how childbirth could have been painless?
There's no receptor down there for you to feel pain.
God created.
Well, I mean, even
nerves
then, there
down
would
there.
just be, tears and broken things.
Maybe people regenerated them?
God
No.
made bodies better back then.
Did he, actually physically change what they looked like?
Probably.
You just okay, we're just gonna make your hips smaller? There we go. Now it'll be painful.
That's a good question.
Maybe made the fetus bigger.
Or
Yeah,
maybe
it's
it's
just
magic.
you'd have to change a whole lot of things to make pregnancy suddenly painful. Or I guess the better thing is you'd have to change a whole lot of things to make it painless. I'm not even a woman. I know this stuff.
You'd have to get rid of the nerves and all that kind of stuff.
No, I mean, you can't. I mean,
Yeah, you
can't
can.
But he's God.
well, you can't just get rid of nerves. Then
But he's
Yeah.
God.
He's God, and he can
okay,
do
so
anything.
if you got rid of all the pain receptors in that entire area, walking would be a bit of an issue.
No, I'm saying just within the uterine lining.
That's not where the pain happens.
I know.
Because God has
The
the
pain
I'm
happens-
trying.
The
God
pain
had-
happens in the whole pelvis being split.
But God has the ability to make certain parts painful and painless because he's God.
I mean, even we can do that. We can do topical anesthetics.
No,
and
I'm not
stuff
saying
that.
making it just painless. I'm saying making it not kill you later.
I don't know.
God made it so that the baby was pure, so when it comes out, it can't harm you.
Oh, so it just kind of turns into a will-o'-the-wisp and then becomes a real child.
Probably, yeah.
afterwards?
It's probably like a little glowing ball that pops out, and all of a sudden, poof, it's a baby.
That's basically the understanding of pregnancy of a
sounds
lot of
like-
religious people.
That sounds like a episode of True Blood.
What?
Wait, babies came from little.
Babies come
Light
from
bulbs?
little light
I'm
balls?
not kidding.
No,
That's how
there's-
fairies are born.
What the hell is True Blood turning into?
Wait, it has fairies? I thought it was about vampires.
There's werewolves, fairies.
Speaking of fairies, actually, there's a Irish folktale that this is when Christianity got to the Gaelic people and were just like, yeah, you're gonna be Christian now. And one of the stories they told to people after a while was that fairies don't go to heaven because they don't have actual souls. It's just a random bit where it's just they had to rationalize the people's current belief systems with Christianity or they wouldn't have rolled with them.
Yeah, roll with the cool people.
Wow. We totally took the whole pregnancy thing over the glowing pop and it forms into a baby. That's how you make it painless. I don't know. I mean, maybe he did change the
It's
physiology.
science, man.
Oh man. See, that's why I can't buy these stories and the whole talking serpent thing. I just
The talking snake, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the one
Have
thing
you
that's-
not seen Harry Potter?
No, the one thing that's kind of cool.
But that's
is
fake. It's not a real talking snake.
Nagini is real.
Puzzled.
What? You have
Oh, that was probably the coolest thing. Is that the snake in the first movie is Nagini?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That was like, whoa! Wow.
No.
The snake in
Oh yeah, but
the snake that was in the zoo is Nagini.
yeah.
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 You guys
Yeah.
are talking about things that don't exist. Let's talk about God, which really exists.
No, the reason I brought that, like the comment I wanted to actually make was that there's no real consensus that snake was Satan. There's nothing in the Bible that supports that.
Then
And
who or what is that snake?
Like commentators on the Bible say
and-
it's like the truth.
But why is it a
True.
snake? And what's called
Like the
truth?
snake is
Because we
is
don't like
conscious.
snakes. We think snakes are creepy.
No, that's the idea. Is that the snake never lied to anyone. The snake only told the truth.
Yeah, it did. So
It said,
truth is
if,
bad?
It's if you eat this apple, you will gain the knowledge of good and evil. That's what's going to happen if you eat this. You will learn like shame and all that.
So
other
the
nonsense.
snake wasn't really deceitful. He was just like...
The snake never did anything wrong.
He just gave him information. Well, here's my other thing.
No, because
What is it of the snake's business anyway?
Because that's the Christian teaching. Information is bad. You shouldn't seek things out on your own.
Isn't that what we kind of got from when we were when we went to that thing with the imam and everything, talking about the whole knowledge stuff?
Yep.
Basically, didn't want us.
Knowledge is bad.
What?
Wait, why is knowledge bad?
Knowledge leads you astray from God.
Is that what he
Learning
said?
is bad.
To a
Then what
certain
are you
extent,
doing at
that's true.
university?
We don't. He even acknowledged that they were I know you're biology students. You got to do your studies and everything. That's great, but you want to make sure you don't stray away from God. So you have to follow
It's
God.
like-
You got to have the faith.
I actually asked him directly, "Can you be Muslim and believe in evolution?" And he said no.
I'm
Damn.
screwed.
That's why if you were there, you probably would have been like I wanted you there so
and
bad.
they also segregated the room.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Me and Dante were on the girls' side.
What?
Yeah, we stood right there. We didn't move.
It was a coincidence, but honestly, if it wasn't, I would have moved to the other side. That's why I just love Lawrence Krauss.
Oh yeah, the whole bit.
Yeah. Lawrence Krauss is a world-renowned physicist who wrote such books as The Physics of Star Trek and A Universe for Nothing. I haven't actually read either of the books, but apparently I recommend them. But he was at a talk a while ago, and he called ahead, and he's like, I'm not going to go to this talk if the room is segregated by gender. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let you guys segregate a talk that I'm at. And they're just like, oh, that's perfectly fine. We're not going to. It's fine. He gets there, it's segregated. And he's like, all right. He seriously, there's a video of it where he just gets his papers, puts them back in his bag, and starts walking out.
Wow. That's still
And
amazing.
they said, fine, well, we won't segregate. And then they said they mixed again. So
But why was in a Muslim event? I can understand why they were segregated, but was it a Muslim event or was it just like?
it was hosted by one,
Ah.
but he made it very clear.
Didn't the imam say the reason why they were segregated is so that the men would be so tempted to be distracted from him talking with the women?
Let's go back to more arguments for God. This is just a whole thing of people should not be responsible for their own actions. It's always God or it's always somebody else, and that bit right there plays on that. Men should not be responsible for their own
Only
actions.
when it's convenient. Sometimes they'll say, "Yep, that person didn't do what God said, so that's what happened." But then they'll turn around and say, "But yeah, you know." So it's random, because
No, it's not random. It's it's done very much on purpose.
Yeah, but they pick and choose the scenario. It's like sometimes it's like, yeah, because you didn't follow God, so that's why you were led astray, and that's why you're deaf, or you have unwanted kids, blah blah blah. And then other times it's like, well, God meant for that to happen. So God is just putting you through this trial because He has something else better than planned for you.
No, this is my favorite. Okay, so this is from my perspective. So God says women and men should not talk to each other. They should not, communicate with each other.
So
But
you're
then-
failing right now.
Yes, I am failing very miserably.
Good, you should.
then when you're sexually mature, you should marry someone and procreate. I'm like,
You know, bad. Wouldn't it just kind of be like the first time the people get freaky with each other? They would just be like, "Oh my god, what the hell is that?"
pretty much. They have no idea what's going
It was like,
on.
but wait a minute, aren't we violating something? What do you mean? Well, I'm actually not supposed to talk to you, but it also says here that I have to talk to you so we can do this
Technically, you
procreating
don't.
thing.
Technically, you don't have to talk.
So we just stare at each other and go,
As we all sit quietly watching Dante explain the miracle of life.
I wish I was on video.
It's like, it would be so awkward to just be like, but this is what I'm talking to. So.
See, that's why I'm so confused. I'm like, really?
That's why I'm not religious.
This discussion I have with my mom, and they're always saying, don't do this, don't do that. You're not supposed to intermingle with the other sex. And then when you're 20-something, whatever that something might be, you have to get married and you have to create a family. I'm like,
what do I know what I'm getting myself into if you told me not to engage with these people? I don't know what that is. I mean, the plumbing is much different. I don't understand it. What is that?
What is that?
What do I do with it?
What do I do with it?
So where does the knowledge come where I learn how to apply my plumbing to that plumbing? If I was taught not to mess with the being that as that plumbing.
And it's not even just the physical aspect. What about the emotional consequences and the,
Again,
those are secondary to family making. Pretty much.
So I'm just supposed to be a machine that creates more people to put out
That's
there.
what it's telling
Have
me.
you seen
Basically.
any religion ever?
I'm sorry, I'm a biologist.
That's
But
what it's
wait,
telling me.
something I find interesting is religion says a lot of things about sex. Is it naturally inherent that we have morals about sex and stuff, or is that just cultural?
Oh, it's so cultural.
Very much cultural, yes.
Probably the most fascinating thing I've ever learned about nudist colonies apparently are very mature when it comes to sexual stuff. It's not at all what people think it is. People just randomly jumping into piles.
It's not
They're very calm and happy in general. And the whole everyone's nude around me apparently wears off really fast.
I mean, that becomes a norm.
I know, and I think that's fascinating. That it's all of our hang-ups with nudity or super conservatism is completely manufactured.
I think that ties back into a religion.
Are you saying that?
The question is, though, why do we manufacture it?
Control. You control where the babies come from. You control everything.
Ah.
Yep. So you use oxygen as your control.
Do you know what it used to be?
The babies.
Oh, here's in Lords and King time. I don't know how true this is, but it used to be when you chose your wife, the Lord was allowed to have sex with her first.
Ew.
Wow.
What the heck, man? How do you do that?
It makes sense.
Was it in medieval times you had to actually get permission to have sex or something?
Maybe.
forget.
I won't be surprised. Controlling sexuality is power. Mostly because it's such a primal drive in our brains that it just if you have someone form some kind of wiring for you shame them into hating their own sexuality, then they'll constantly be coming back to you for redemption.
Now I kind of understand why my friend hated. We had this one guy, a professor. I forget where he was from, but he taught he didn't teach here, but he was invited to talk at a discussion for the MSA, the Muslim Student Association, and she always really disliked him, and I really didn't understand until after meeting you guys, because he was quite not racist, but
misogynist.
Culturalist.
Culturist. I don't know.
What did he do? What do you mean?
Our religion is the best.
Okay.
Yeah, so on and so forth.
It's supremism or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Silliness. But the one argument for God that we didn't actually touch on at all is it's unnatural.
It's unnatural for there not to be a God.
Yeah, it's nature. It's a couple things. anything that goes against God is unnatural, and therefore it's bad. And anything that goes with nature is natural, which means it's good. And because it's good, that means it actually happened.
And isn't there a logical fallacy with the whole appeal to nature thing too?
Yeah, appeal to nature is actually recently became a much more accepted fallacy, because there's nothing about 750. There's nothing about nature that makes it necessarily good for people. Actually, most of nature really doesn't like people.
Most of nature is just not friendly.
Not friendly to people.
Okay,
Yeah.
look at.
Well, if we include the universe with nature, then 99% of it is inhospitable to life.
I would say more than that. I would say 99.9999. How many nines you want to put at the end of it? Does not like us. Neil deGrasse Tyson did a really great bit on that. He did a whole PowerPoint. It was like, for us to talk about this benevolent God and everything, there's sure a lot of things out there in the universe that wants us dead. Like he was talking about being stuck in outer space, not having enough oxygen, being burnt to death, being crushed to death, and then everything on Earth, and then he was just like, yeah. So I can't. And I'm just really badly paraphrasing. He can't believe that there is a benevolent being behind all this when there's so much there that's going to destroy you instantly.
The oxygen we breathe is killing us.
Yeah. The water we
Literally.
drink is killing us. Standing kills us. Being alive kills us.
Talking about God kills us.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yes,
we're
it does.
wasting every minute.
Because we're wasting
Closer
our lives debating the existence of something that may or may not exist. So we're wasting time.
I don't think we're wasting time.
So I think we should
We're
discuss
trying
Loch
to-
Ness Monster instead.
Oh yeah, that would definitely
I mean,
be more
there-
productive.
I actually had this conversation earlier with some other people in the lab, and it was just kind of like the reason that I think it's important to do this is because religious belief actually has a strong influence on our lives, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, religion is everywhere.
It is, whether we
It's
like
not
it or
something
not.
we can pretend doesn't exist because
I-
it's very
I-
influential.
I firmly believe that even if we were to somehow hit the delete button, every religion ever was to disappear, religion would show up again in some form.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
there was a guy that kind of proposed the idea that we should be defined as a homo religiosus, the believing man, and not the thinking man.
Yeah, most people don't use their sapiens very well.
No, not at all.
It's the most interesting thing. I also watched a video. I did a lot of things today. I watched
That's
a
awesome.
video that was apparently NASA and Google created a quantum computer.
A what now?
Quantum?
A quantum computer. Instead of using binary, it uses qubits. The answer can be it can be a 1 or a 0 or both.
Okay.
What?
How does that
Yeah,
work?
I don't know. But at the end of the video, it said I think one of the reasons the processing power is exponentially higher than we have now.
What are we gonna do
the
with
chip
it?
is
Destroy the
he
world.
said one of the things that we probably would do is figure out if there's life in the universe.
How could you do that?
I know.
Just
This
use
is
A
so
math.
lot
weird.
of math and really powerful computers that
Okay.
could literally figure out every possible situation that could ever happen.
Okay.
This is how powerful computers we're talking about.
That's a bit scary.
Anyway, the end of the video is saying why are we doing this? Why do we care if things exist in the universe? Why do we want to calculate this sort of stuff? And it says we do this because we have to. We do it because we're man. Because we're human.
Is it
And when I heard that, I was just kind of it's so beautiful. People think about stuff and we work on these sort of problems because we have to. It is what makes us human.
So it's in our nature to just sit here and contemplate these things.
Yes.
Basically.
So would it be going against nature to just say, God did it?
It's a co-opting of otherwise perfectly functioning aspects of humanity. It's being satisfied with... It's an answer to people. So they are seeking answers. They just stop trying after a while.
They're just not as ambitious as, say, somebody who's...
No, I think they're still just as ambitious. They've tricked themselves and and people have tricked them that that is a perfectly satisfactory answer.
Mm.
This is why I keep coming back to the idea that religion co-opts normal human behavior and emotions and tendencies. It co-ops humanity.
And so on and so on.
In video games.
Video games, yeah, I could
No,
see
video
it.
games are the fun thing, where video games co-opt like everything about humans.
Video games are actually quite.
Is that why they're so
influential, too.
stimulating?
Yeah, it's because like some video games are designed to like activate all of our like ocular receptors.
Grand Theft Auto.
Yes.
That's why it's just that's why when you're playing them, you actually get adrenaline rushes, even though by all reason you shouldn't. It doesn't make any sense. You're not in any danger.
Just as a little aside, and maybe it might kind of fit into the argument for guy thing. Have you noticed a lot of video games, especially RPGs, tend to take a anti-religious type stance to it?
It is kind of true. They always go against like the person that's all powerful,
Grandia
but
2.
for some reason evil.
Grandia 3.
Yeah. That's
Skies of
true.
Arcadia. Final Fantasy 7.
A lot of the Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
They go into like this is the all powerful ancient god, and now we have to kill them.
Final Fantasy 10.
Yes,
It's probably the
I
most
remember that.
atheistic Final Fantasy I've ever
I
played.
don't know why people say that. But then again, I wasn't paying attention when I was playing that game.
Have you played the whole game?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Well,
I guess so.
think of Yevon, like
Because you're trying to kill a god. Or a supposed god.
All you have to do is just not go out with people, and
I
ignore
don't
your
go out with people that
and
often
ignore your
anyway.
schoolwork.
Oh,
Then you have lots of free time.
leverage your time. When I wasn't doing anything in the military, I was playing a video game and not out getting drunk and knocking out random women.
I'm not getting drunk or out with random women or men for that matter.
So, there you go.
Then you should be playing video
Then you
games.
should
Exactly.
play.
I
You should
don't
play
have
then.
time.
You
Go
should.
study.
Who studies?
Yeah,
But
who
you
studies?
gotta remember, I wasn't in college back then. I was in the military and I had some downtime. So I was like,
I
okay,
don't believe in downtime.
well, that's sad.
Yeah,
You're
that is
gonna work
sad.
yourself to death and die.
You need to have some fun.
No, I had fun.
You know what you need to do? You really need to listen to the talking snake. He's going to tell you the truth.
Where's the talking snake?
We'll find it. I actually
You
have
have
3
to
snakes
be-
at home, but
You have to look for it.
I have 3
You
snakes at home.
have to believe in the talking snake.
But none of my snakes talk yet, so I don't know.
Maybe
But
they
it-
will one day.
But in any case,
No, they speak their own language. They go.
I've actually never heard my snakes even hiss.
Should that be like a
wrong.
wicked name for a YouTube channel, The Talking Snake?
Talking snake.
I call it. It's fine.
Would you have a picture of like a snake that's about to bite and a speed bubble in front of it or something?
Something. I call it. It's fine. Even though it's like guaranteed it's already taken.
Probably.
He took the talking snake. Darn.
Talking snake.
Bill Maher loves the talking snake. But in any case, arguments for
Talking snakes.
Talking snakes, so god.
Which, well, you know what? But just to bring it a bit back to the talking snake, why would God choose the snake to talk? Why was the snake? Why was that one individual snake? I'm pretty sure there was more snakes than that. But why is this one individual snake with the ability to talk
I honestly think
so
it was just-
fascinating in teaching people about fruit?
I don't know. I think it was probably more
I could do a whole
symbolic.
YouTube video on the talking snake alone, just super analyzing the snake. Because it baffles me. That's where all this nonsense started. That damn snake. I also want to know what species this damn thing was. Because really, what is this snake doing in the tree chilling?
What the hell are species? We're talking about the Bible.
Oh,
It's kinds, man.
kind. Okay, yeah, we're talking about.
Actually, if you look up the definition of kind that Ray Comfort gave, I have a picture of him actually giving the definition of kind.
Mm.
And it basically is species. So he's just a liar.
Dante, I have a question. Are reptiles a grade or a clade?
A grade or a clade?
Yeah.
What's a clade or a grade?
They would be a clade. It's like a grouping of.
Fudge, I got that wrong.
It's a clade. It's
I put-
yeah. It's like
I
a
thought it
grouping
was a-
of.
So if you imagine the evolutionary tree where things start branching off, where there is a V is a clade.
Yeah.
It's everything that's branched off and is still being related to whatever.
Yeah.
Then couldn't you argue that all of existence is just one giant clade?
We are.
Yes, we are.
But you have to
Yeah.
include everything.
Yeah.
So we are in the same clade as carrots. If we
Yes.
go far enough back.
Mm.
And fishies. Embrace your inner fish.
We are ichthyans,
Yay.
which is awesome.
Finally, my fantasy come true.
Oh, wait, speaking of the whole evolution thing, what was that? What was that one term where where people believe that the creatures were put down here as is. I think it's called fixation of the species or something like
Yeah.
I thought it was just
Yeah.
creationism.
Well, yeah, that I mean, it goes in that too.
It's fixation of the species. Right?
Yeah, fixation of the species, where basically, the cat has always been the way it is as we see it today. The human has always been what we see it as today.
If that's
the
true.
shark.
Now, you see, this is just another thing from ignorance. It's like, then if that's true, the Noah's Ark story never happened. Because there's 20 billion species we know of?
Pretty darn high.
Yeah, how do you fit all those species on that boat?
Yeah, they didn't. Because we know how big the boat was.
That's why some things are extinct, because
That's
they
why
didn't
there's
make
no
it on the
unicorns
boat.
anymore.
And I can actually make a whole video
Okay,
on...
so if some things did go extinct, then why do we have a freaking bajillion species right now? If they were created,
God made it
technically.
so.
God
Yeah,
made them.
Didn't God sacrifice some of those animals that came off the ark too?
I don't know.
Because if that's the case, that's how they got extinct.
Okay, if they got extinct, then how do we have over 1 billion species of beetles? Probably not 1 billion, but close enough.
Honestly,
Maybe
it's
God
pretty
sped
close.
their-
I'll put it this way. I can rip apart the entire Noah's story thing, but it would take me 20 minutes or more to do it. Because it's so fallacious that I'm not...
Yes, I'm doing my hair. Leave me alone.
All right.
What? I wasn't going to say
Oh,
You're
here-
looking at me like, what the hell is wrong
Oh wow,
with
this is
you?
going to take me a while to read. Here is a thing from Douglas Adams. This was sent to us by Finn, one of our frequent listeners.
Thank you, Finn.
And anyway, this is Douglas Adams. Is there an artificial God? So I'm just going to go ahead and read this thing. Where does the idea of God come from? Well, I think we have a very skewed point of view on an awful lot of things. Well, let's try and see where our point of views come from. Imagine early man. Early man is, like everything else, evolved creature, and he finds himself in a world that he's begun to take a little bit of charge of. He's begun to be a tool maker, a changer of his environment with the tools that he's made, and he makes tools. And he does. And in order to make changes to his environment. To give an example of the way man operates compared to other animals, consider speciation, which, as we know, tends to occur when a small group of animals gets separated from the rest of the herd by some geological upheaval, population pressure, food shortage, or whatever else finds itself in a new environment with maybe something different going on. Take a very simple example. Maybe a bunch of animals suddenly finds itself in a place where the weather is rather colder. We know that in a few generations, those genes which favor a thicker coat will have come to the fore, and will find that the animals have now thicker coats. Early man, who's a tool maker, doesn't have to do this. He can inhabit an extraordinarily wide range of habitats on Earth, from tundra to the Gobi Desert. He even manages to live in New York, for heaven's sake. And the reason is that when he arrives in a new environment, he doesn't have to wait for several generations. If he arrives in a colder environment and sees an animal that has those genes which favor a thicker coat, he says, I'll have it off him. Tools have enabled us to think intentionally, to make things and to do things, to create a world that fits us better. Now imagine an early man surveying his surroundings at the end of a happy day's tool making. He looks around and sees a world which pleases him mightily. Behind him are mountains with caves in. Mountains are great because you can go and hide in the caves, and when you are out of the rain and the bears can't get you. In front of him, there's a forest. It's got nuts, berries, and other delicious food. There's a stream going by, which is full of water. Water is delicious to drink. You can float your boats in it and do all sorts of stuff with it. Here's Cousin Erg. He's caught a mammoth. Mammoths are great. You can eat them. You can wear their coats. You can use their bone screw weapons to catch other mammoths. I mean, this is a great world. It's fantastic. But our early man has a moment to reflect, and he thinks to himself, well, this is an interesting world that I find myself in. And then he asks himself a very treacherous question. A question which is totally meaningless and fallacious, but only comes about because of the nature of the sort of person he is. The sort of person he has evolved into, and the sort of person who has thrived because he thinks this particular way. Man, the maker, looks at the world and says, so who made this then? Who made this? Oh, you can see why it's a treacherous question. Early man thinks, well, because there's only one sort of thing I know about who makes things. Whoever made all this must therefore be a much bigger, much more powerful, and necessarily invisible one of me. And because I tend to be the strong one who does all the stuff, he's probably male. And so we have the idea of a god. Then because when we make things, we do it with the intention of doing something with them, early man asks himself, if he made it, what did he make it for? Now that's the real trap strings, because early man is thinking, this world fits me very well. Here are all these things that support me and feed me and look after me. Yes, this world fits me nicely. He reaches the inescapable conclusion that whoever made it for him.
Damn.
So it sounds selfish.
We are very selfish.
We're human.
Well, that's true.
You know what? I blame the mammoth.
But that's actually, go Douglas Adams. That's very well done.
That's pretty awesome. I like the mammoth part.
The mammoth. It's delicious.
But if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. The moment that early man had any chance to reflect on itself and its surroundings,
That's why you should always be busy. Don't
yeah,
reflect.
be busy. Don't think about
That's why I
stuff.
play video games. I can be the guy.
No, but even seriously, that is a very compelling argument of just where gods came from in general and what they mean to people. Because if you actually analyze what a god is, it's a vindictive, greedy, struggling, incoherent, very poorly designed human.
Why does that sound like?
That sounds like human.
That sounds like a person.
Exactly.
It's just a giant
Person.
Of course it sounds like a person. It is a person. It's you. It's me. It's you. God is created in the image of man, not the other way around.
It's deep.
If you want evidence
Salami
of that,
sandwich.
What?
wow.
It's that deep.
Did you
Salami
just-
sandwich.
Did you just take one of my lines? Some randomness? I'm
You
rubbing
guys are spending
off.
too much time together.
I'm rubbing off on it. Jesus Christ.
I was just like, what? Salami? What
In
is that?
any case, but it's like seriously, somebody can conjure up some sort of deity, create some sort of written guidelines for this, and if enough people believe in it, and it reaches enough youth, because I think that's how this thing really spread, is youth through
Yeah,
youth.
without youth, you don't have a
Yeah.
proliferation.
Yeah, and through the youth, you have yourself a religion. You have a dogma. You have a being of worship. You have a set of moral values. You have an idea of how the universe and the world came to be, and you even have a bit of power on the side. You even co-opt or even overrule the government. There's your religion. Any of us can actually do that. It would take a lot of time, probably, but it can happen. So it's like, why couldn't the same thing with Christianity or Islam or Judaism? I think it makes a whole lot of sense.
Why not
Okay.
Hinduism or Buddhism or whatever other isms exist?
If Buddhism was floating around, I'd probably be quite awesome with it. You're like, hey, you guys are cool. You guys are not going to bother me. For the most part. There apparently is a war going on between Buddhism and, I forgot what other religion. It's somewhere in Asia. There's like a civil war going on. So,
Not surprising.
yeah.
But it's one of those things, it's just like, you're arguing over whose invisible friend is bigger.
And better.
So it's God
sexier.
versus Shiva and Krishna and all that?
No, it's people arguing about whose invisible friend is better. It's like, I think it was, what's his name? To the Ranting Griffin is a guy on YouTube. And he's like, people keep arguing about whose god has the nicest ass. That's basically what people are doing.
Whose god has the nicest ass?
So who's the bigger ass of themselves? It's awesome. But it's funny.
Thank
how
you,
this-
Finn, for the input. That was very cool.
It's amazing how there's so many different ideologies out there that are very similar to religion itself, and how there's some sort of central being that's considered to be like sports. I consider sports to be like a kind of religion. It's like, especially here in Philadelphia with the whole Michael Vick thing.
But what is it? It's like, keep a man's horizons surrounded by sports, beer, and gambling, and then they will be completely distracted of the world's ills. George Orwell.
This is so Orwellian. Because look at our school systems and everything.
Possibly.
I believe so.
Oh wait, no, he wrote Animal Farm. I don't know if that was from it.
If you think about it, though, you're right. There are a lot of like other things that are almost like religions, like government. There's always
It's a
that
cult.
one central figure who's like,
That
It's like the thing is government shouldn't be.
that one form of
But it's
communism that was
become
going
it.
around.
Yeah.
That Stalin, Mao Zedong, and Pol Pot believed in.
president.
But
To be fair, at least ours has some form of checks and balances.
ours is
Yeah.
mostly just incompetence and not outward.
Okay,
I don't know.
our government-
I would say there is outright devotion because people just vote for a party regardless of what they actually stand for,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they're just like, "Oh, I vote for the party because I always do." That's a stupid reason. That's a stupid reason, everyone.
I put that out and no one cared. But hey.
It's like I registered for the Green Party because I actually mostly believe in what they want to do.
That was a Gary Johnson guy, but we won't.
That's just an example. No
Yeah.
pressure.
But we always criticize our government in the United States of America, but I think it's better than most governments out
It's
there.
really, really not.
I think so.
I'm sorry, you're wrong.
It's destroying us in a
It's
different way.
the approval rating of like a lot of European governments is like 90%.
Yeah, well,
Ours
Europe,
is like 37.
Europe is better than us, and we all know it.
Yeah, but we just don't want to admit it because that would hurt our ego.
They're healthier than us.
I remember when my parents went to visit Norway a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
They came back and they said you could eat off the floor of the train.
Yeah.
It was that, and it wasn't that like they had like a legion of people that clean constantly. It's that people just aren't messy.
Exactly.
That's
They don't
awesome.
leave their trash on the ground.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
they basically go, oh, I wouldn't want to sit in someone else's trash, and then they walk away.
Know what we do here in Philadelphia? We put the trash next to the trash can, not in it.
Yeah.
I've literally seen that. Somebody had a whole plate of food. I know we're going a bit off topic, but I just gotta mention it real quick. Somebody had a big plate of food, big platter. They walked towards the trash can and just threw it on the ground and walked off. And I was just like, really?
Now we should do what? Is it the Chinese or the Japanese or somebody that like arrests you if you
It
Litter.
I wouldn't be. I would.
I don't know.
I'd be more up for just ticketing in general.
Yeah, I
We're
mean,
supposed to do that, but we don't enforce it.
yeah, like it says on many things. Littering.
$300 fine and stuff, but almost never see it.
It's also hard to catch people doing it though.
No, it's not. Stand by a
Nope.
garbage can.
Yeah,
People
stay
do it
by
right in front of
garbage
the
can
car.
for about 45 minutes.
Oh.
And you catch like 10 people.
More. I work on 4 Day for One. I see a lot of it. I've seen a guy chuck a whole plate of food out of the car and look at me like, what are you going to do? I'm just like, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you gonna do? And you just like take out a taser, and then they just go like.
But remember, guys, God created us that way.
God created the taser.
I'm moving to Europe,
God's there too.
but
But
Not
God,
as much.
But God came from there,
no, he came from the Middle East.
if you say so.
God got his biggest foothold in Europe.
Although he's probably not as prevalent as he is here.
It would have been really interesting what would happen. What would have happened if Constantine just was like, you know, what'd be sweet? Hinduism.
That would be very
It probably would have
interesting.
been more vicious or something. Who knows? We don't know what kind of history would have happened back then.
There's like a whole field of
'Cause-
just like experimental history.
Because Hinduism probably would have mutated into something worse than we can ever imagine.
Why's that?
Yeah.
Because it's amazing how you can take something.
Fanaticism is built into everything.
Yeah. If you can create a fanatic Hindu.
I've never read any Hindu text whatsoever, but I guarantee it's somewhere
Trust
in
me,
there. it
even
says,
they have some really.
Yeah, I guarantee
rituals.
there's something bad in there
Yeah.
somewhere.
Somebody can mutate it into something horrible. We don't know what effects it would have had. Like we could have taken Constantine could have said, Buddhism, which is normally considered to be, quite
There are
fundamental.
bits in Buddhism that do say you should kill people.
Yeah. And then next thing you know, fast forward to today, there's
Righteous
Buddhists running around
violence.
poking people each other in the face with a broomstick. You know, I mean, who knows?
That's not really violent. It's rude.
I don't know. I think you could poke somebody's eye out with a broomstick.
Do you know how hard it is to actually poke someone's eye out? There's a lot of things holding eyes and heads.
Yeah, still very painful. We got 45, 44, 43 seconds, 42 seconds.
Please don't count down.
5.
So there's a whole lot of arguments for God, and none of them stand up to scrutiny. And most of them fail in the description process. So I urge everyone on the internet, please don't just buy into these arguments. And please recognize that most religious people don't actually do not believe at all for the reasons that they give, but they believe for a much more personal, emotional reason.
Snakes don't talk.
Most of the time. Have a nice day, everyone.
Goodbye.
Yay.
Tacos are food.